What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you enjoyed the 2022 NFL Draft that is officially come and gone, at least for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm putting this video together while the 7th round continues to unfold, but the Cowboys have kind of already packed it in. In fact, the Cowboys have already had their post-draft press conference, and there are a lot of tentacles to the draft. Obviously, there's undrafted free agency, and we'll keep you updated there at bloggingtheboys.com. But we're here right now to discuss, rather to grade the draft class that the Dallas Cowboys put together here in the calendar year of 2022. Dallas ultimately made 9 selections. They didn't trade up. They didn't trade down. A lot of people thought they might be moving, but no. The Cowboys made all of their picks, and let's go ahead and give it a full letter grade. But to do that, we have to discuss the class in particular. Let's go ahead and start. The Cowboys took Tyler Smith, as we all know, with the 24th overall pick, their first round selection. Consensus boards had him much lower than that. In that literal sense, it's a reach for the Cowboys. They got their guy, so they're going to feel happy about it no matter what. Tyler Smith's a day one starter in all likelihood, going to play left guard. If he's the future left tackle, the Cowboys, and if he's a tackle for years to come, obviously, nobody cares about consensus boards or things like that. But right now, a project has to clean up the penalty issues. But somebody who's been impressive so far in the short time that he's been a part of the organization, but still technically a reach. But the Cowboys were in that position because they had that left guard spot to fill, having watched Connor Williams leave in free agency. And the Cowboys, of course, had a need at defensive end as well. Now, you'll notice that we have written Sam Williams' name, the Cowboys' second round selection out of Ole Miss, as D. Williams. We actually had Sam on during our day 3 coverage of the NFL draft here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Please do subscribe. And we were talking to him, asking him about, being drafted, being a member of the Cowboys. And at the very end of our conversation, before he left, he told us that he is asking Cowboys fans to call him D. Williams, not Sam Williams, but D. Williams. We actually asked him how to spell it. You can go watch this interview on our channel if you go back. It's really fun with a really, really great person. A lot of fun, just kind of had by all around. But he actually said it's spelled D-E. It's spelled D-double-E there on the video. So a little bit misleading. But D. Williams, the Cowboys' second round pick, a lot of potential. Certainly a potential really star pass rusher in the making for the Cowboys. And again, they had that need because of Randy Gregory and him leaving in free agency of the Denver Broncos. Obviously, that was a bit of a unique situation. And we'll see. Pass rushers, it's very difficult to come into the NFL and in year one make an impact in that sense, which is why Micah Parsons was so special a year ago. But ultimately, a little bit of a reach again. If you followed any of the mock drafts that we did here, at least on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, we took Williams a lot, but we took him generally with that 88th overall pick, that third round selection from the Cowboys. Now, mock drafts aren't necessarily always indicative of the way that NFL teams truly value players. So the Cowboys clearly felt like they had to get him right there. They got their guy. It's going to take a little bit of time to fully develop into the role that we all want to see him have. So in that sense, kind of a B sort of grade, just because that generally does take some time. But we go to the third round, late Friday night. The Cowboys really hit one out of the park, just like Yordan Alvarez, as I'm putting this video together. And Jalen Tolbert, I think most people, certainly mine, and that's a really popular opinion, favorite pick of the class. Cowboys have a true new wide receiver to add to their offense. It was so cool to hear how he's been working with Dak Prescott. We heard that because he also joined us during our draft coverage. In fact, Jalen joined us like 30 minutes literally after being drafted. You can watch both of these interviews and all of our other videos again here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. We'll see what the future holds in terms of how long it takes Michael Gallup to fully get back and fully get healthy. The Cowboys obviously added James Washington in free agency, but Jalen Tolbert being added to the mix, that CeeDee Lamb is going to headline, is a really big deal. Somebody who can be extremely productive, was extremely productive at South Alabama, and obviously that's been the knock on him, but Cowboys got one of the most underrated, undervalued wide receivers throughout the entire NFL draft class, which takes us to the beginning of Saturday's action. The Cowboys got on the board with their tight end. They had seen other options like, obviously, Trey McBride and Jeremy Ruckert and Jelani Woods go. In fact, Charlie Kohler went the very pick before Dallas was on the clock. He went 128 to the Baltimore Ravens. The Cowboys took Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin, and not the pass catching, superstar that we've seen other tight ends across the NFL kind of develop into. A lot of people think that maybe Jelani Woods can be that, et cetera, but a really solid player. And this is kind of, we talked about this in the video that we did for him specifically, kind of what Dalton Schultz was. Now, the Cowboys were in a very different place as a franchise when they drafted Schultz, also in the 4th round 4 years ago, because Jason Witten had just retired a couple of days prior, and that was the first Witten retirement. And nobody really thought that Schultz was going to develop into much. A lot lot of people really believed that it was going to be Blake Jarwin's time to shine. In fact, later on that season, Jarwin would actually, in the regular season finale, have that 3-touchdown performance against the New York Giants. He got the big deal, and it never really worked out for him. He tore his ACL at the beginning of the 2020 season, and Dalton Schultz just kind of inherited the opportunity that's seen him really become the tight end that he is for the Cowboys today. And all kudos to Dalton Schultz, and we'll see what his future holds. He's on the franchise tag. Maybe he gets a long-term deal done, but you need 2 tight ends in today's NFL. We know the Cowboys like their 12 personnel. We know the Cowboys like their blocking tight ends. We know the Cowboys like to have those players as a part of the offense, and I think Jake Ferguson really fits that. So as long as you're careful in defining what he's going to be asked to do for the Cowboys, help as a run blocker, help in the blocking game overall, help as a pass protector, I think that's a really solid pick. Matt Waletzko, a very, very fun name to say out loud, the tackle the Cowboys took out of North Dakota, their first of 4 fifth-round selections, extremely, athletic prospect, just a complete and total physical marvel. I mean, just an absolute unicorn when it comes to physical measurements and athletic traits. And so maybe he is your swing tackle of the future. Obviously, the Cowboys took Josh Ball in the 4th round last year. It's a developmental sort of thing. It's a project sort of thing. I don't have any issue taking those kinds of players in the 5th round, but you've got to be careful because if you don't hit, you miss out on potential would-be contributors to your offense. And the Cowboys kind of went that same route later in the 5th round. Their next pick, 167, with Deron Bland, the corner out of Fresno State. Again, a prospect that Dan Quinn can potentially work with and mold to his liking. We've seen Dan Quinn, for all the credit that he gets, and rightfully so as the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, doesn't really have a sterling track record when it comes to defensive backs that he has chosen. Now, I say that Trayvon Diggs obviously had an incredible season last year, but he was already on the Cowboys roster. Now, to be fair, Dan Quinn, part of the group that brought in Jaron Kearse and retained Jaron Kearse. So I'm not trying to say that Dan Quinn is pitching an oaf or anything like this, but Dan Quinn really wanted Nahshon Wright last year, and we're only 1 year in, but we haven't seen that exactly take hold. So this will be a very interesting pick to watch, obviously, over the course of time as Dan Quinn hopefully develops him, which takes us to the third 5th round pick the Cowboys had. It's difficult to say numbers like that back to back. Damon Clark, this is a very, very fascinating pick for the Cowboys. Obviously had a medical situation that saw him tumble down boards. The Dallas Cowboys said afterwards in their post-draft press conference that they had a 3rd round evaluation on him. This really projects to potentially be the biggest value. It seems like 2022 is probably going to be a redshirt year for him. In that same post-draft press conference, the Cowboys said he would obviously start the season on the PUP list. They are expressing confidence that he could play in 2022. They're, of course, not going to come outright and say, yeah, it's a total and complete redshirt year. We heard similar things about Jalen Smith when they drafted him in 2016. Again, not that these situations are identical or even similar, but just to kind of give you the perspective of what the Cowboys and every NFL team says about their draft picks. Even if this season is a redshirt year, if you consider and if you look at the state of the Cowboys linebacking group, and we've been looking for answers there to provide Micah Parsons the flexibility and the mobility to move around and play along the edge rusher position so that he can hunt the quarterback. The Cowboys right now, as far as linebackers are concerned, really only have Leighton Vander Esch and Jabril Cox, one of last year's 4th round selections as well. Now, Jabril Cox we're all in love with, but what does the future of the position really have in store, especially if Micah Parsons is playing more edge rush? If Clark comes back after a year as a redshirt player for the Cowboys and you pair him with Jabril Cox in 2023, all of a sudden that overall linebacker group, which does include Micah Parsons, is something to be really excited about. So this is a really high potential pick, but we'll see obviously what it ultimately yields for the Cowboys. We probably won't have a definitive answer on that though, at least for over a year. So patience is a virtue. The penultimate pick by the Dallas Cowboys here in 2022, John Ridgeway, the defensive tackle out of Arkansas. Many of us have been wondering whether or not the team would be bringing back Brent Urban. We know that they love their day 3 defensive tackle prospects. We've seen them add a lot of them. Not necessarily all have been day 3. Tristan Hill, Neville Gallimore, even Malik Collins 6 years ago, but Quentin Bohanna. I mean, the Cowboys love themselves some defensive tackle options to really kind of show up. I mean, you think about even last year, again, not day 3, but Osa Digizua. The Cowboys like these later round, mid to late round prospects along the interior of their defensive line, and John Ridgeway presents a really fine option, a great run defender, somebody that can come in and raise the floor overall at that position. This was a really fun pick. We were all still kind of excited about the Clark pick in the moment when it happened because, as you can see, those picks happened essentially back-to-back at 176 and 178 overall. Finally, Takes us to Devon Harper, the Mr. Irrelevant of the Dallas Cowboys draft class, the linebacker out of Oklahoma State. You need bodies. You need other linebackers. Not all these players are going to make your team. You need special teams players, but the Cowboys did bring Luke Gifford back as well. We'll see what they have. Again, the linebacker group is very interesting for them right now. We'll see if they land any undrafted free agents at this particular position, because, again, that hasn't happened at the time I'm putting this together. Luke Gifford himself was an undrafted free agent who the Cowboys brought in at the linebacker spot. They could also obviously go in normal veteran free agency now that compensatory picks are no longer being impacted. We know the Cowboys love to prioritize that particular detail, so we'll see. But a definite project for the Cowboys nonetheless, somebody who's going to play a lot in the preseason, obviously, which takes us to the time where we have to come up with a grade. Not an A. I'm be honest with you. I know maybe some of you out there think it's an A. Feel like the Cowboys completely, totally dominated this thing. I don't feel that way. And I do think that objectively, their first 2 picks were reaches. Again, relative to consensus boards. They could wind up being the 2 best players in this class when all of these careers are all said and done. But right now, they do look like reaches. But the Cowboys got their guys. They got their guys at positions that they really needed. I think that you have to give them some attaboy credit and some attaboy props for filling needs. That is obviously always the goal. The Cowboys chose not to do that in free agency. They made this bed that they lied in. They made all of us lie in throughout the draft as well. It wasn't a total failure. It wasn't a total disaster. And there's obviously still some sort of incomplete propositions relative to the class as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give it a B if my dog would allow me. And I'm going to feel that way and feel pretty good about it. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. It's been a long day. My dog's been a good boy. My name's RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at RJ Ochoa. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.